Alright, we are in lesson 4. Our objective for today says I will be able to simplify expressions using the order of operations. I will be able to simplify expressions using the order of operations. Now, you may have heard of order of operations before, but we're going to look at it a little differently today. First thing this says is to simplify an expression means to perform all of the operations. Now, as you see here, these are two different ways that method 1 got the answer 3, method 2 got the answer 6. So how do we know which one of those is right? Okay, this is the same problem with two different answers. So how do we know which one is right? Well, we've got to follow our order of operations. Like it says, to avoid confusion, mathematicians have agreed to use the order of operations. Now, the order of operations that I want you to remember. You may have heard, please excuse my dear Aunt Sally, but I want you to forget about that, okay? Forget about please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. I want you to think about this. GEMA, which is grouping symbols, exponents, and roots, then multiplication and division, and then addition and subtraction. With something like please excuse my dear Aunt Sally, it looks like you first do multiplication and then you do division, but that is not correct. You always, in all of these, go from the left to the right. Okay, so if you like something like please excuse my dear Aunt Sally and you like those acronyms, things that help you remember, you can remember this. Gotta eat more apples. You go to the doctor, right? The doctor tells you gotta eat some more apples so that you'll be good and healthy. GEMA, gotta eat more apples. Grouping symbols, exponents and roots, multiplication and division, addition and subtraction, okay? The reason it's grouping symbols and not parentheses is because parentheses does not include all of the things that you will see. It's grouping symbols, so like brackets, absolute value symbols, parentheses, all of those are included within grouping symbols. Here's one last way that might help you remember. You can draw a pyramid, put G at the top, left to right. E next, left to right. Multiplication and division are on the same level. You don't do multiplication first, then division. You do them on the same level from the left to the right. And then finally, addition and subtraction from the left to the right. Okay, so grouping symbols, exponents, multiplication, division, addition, subtraction. All these we go from the left to the right. Gotta eat more apples. So let's use this in an example. All right, we got to do my grouping symbols first. So GEMA, grouping symbols first. Here's my grouping symbols, the first ones I see. So let's go from the left to the right. Let's work this first grouping symbol. 10 times 3 is 30. Bring everything else down. Just do one step at a time and do everything, or bring everything else down. It says to justify each step, so let's tell what we did. We did grouping symbols, okay? I still have some more grouping symbols to do, so I'm going to bring down this 30, and I'm only working inside grouping symbols here. 5 plus 4 gives me 9 inside that grouping symbol. So I'm going to write what I did. I worked inside my grouping symbol. Now, I have addition and I have multiplication. I've done my grouping symbols. I don't have any exponents, so I've got to figure out what comes first, multiplication or addition. Well, I see my M is next, so let's do that multiplication. 7 times 9 is 63. We did multiplication there, and then all I've got left is addition. 30 plus 63 gives me 93. I added, and that was my final answer. So we first do our grouping symbols, then exponents, multiplication and addition, addition, subtraction. Let's do the same thing here, right? I've got to work inside my grouping symbols first. First thing I see is, all right, inside my grouping symbols, I have two different things going on. I have multiplication and subtraction. What comes first? Multiplication. So let's multiply and let's bring everything else down. 2 times 3 is 6 squared. The whole thing is squared over 2. Okay, so what we did is we did our grouping symbols. Okay, still have something going on in grouping symbols right here. 6 minus 2 is 4. I worked inside grouping symbols again, so let's write it down. Grouping symbols. Now I've got 4 squared over 2. 4 squared gives me 16 over 2. I've got to do that exponent before I do my division. Okay, so we did our grouping symbols, then we did our exponent. That's where we got this 16, so let's write it down. Exponent. Alright, and then 16 divided by 2 just gives me 8. And I divided to get that 8. Okay, so I do my grouping symbols, I did my exponents, then the last thing I had here was division. Remember, multiplication and division are on the same row. Now, same thing here. This is to compare the expression, use less than, greater than, or equal to. So I've got to find an answer here, then find an answer here, and compare the two. So, let's start here. Remember, we're doing GEMA. Let's start with my grouping symbols. Okay? 1 5/10 plus 3 gives me 3 5/10. I bring everything else down. If you don't bring things down like this, you're going to get confused. Here I've got division, addition, and an exponent. What comes first? We've done our grouping symbols, now we move to exponents. I bring everything else down. 3 5/10 divided by 9 plus 3 cubed, which is 27. Now I have division and addition. I've done grouping symbols, I've done exponents. I've got multiplication and division, which comes before that addition. So let's divide 3 5/10. Oh, excuse me, that's not 3 5/10, that's 4 5/10. My fault. It should be a 4. Be sure you fix that and make that a 4. 4 5/10 divided by 9 plus 27. So I divide 4 5/10 by 9, which gives me 5/10, or a half. Then I've got 5/10 plus 27, which is 27 5/10. So I've got an answer for this. Now I need to get an answer for this side so that I can compare the two. Up here I've got grouping symbols. That's a parentheses. Let's work inside my grouping symbols first. 18 plus 8 gives me 26 over 2 minus, I bring everything else down. I've got division, subtraction, and division. So let's use my division from my left to the right. This fraction bar is the same thing as division. 26 divided by 2 gives me 13 minus 8 divided by 4. Again, I'm bringing everything down. I'm doing one operation at a time. I have 13 minus 8 divided by 4. So I have subtraction and I have division. I'll look over here. Okay? I've done grouping symbols. I've done exponents. There's none left. Okay? I just have division and subtraction. Remember, multiplication and division are on this same row right here. So I've got to divide before I can subtract. 13 minus 8 divided by 4 is 4. 13 minus 4, or no, it is not. 8 divided by 4 is not 4. 13 divided by 4 is 2. 13 minus 2 is 11. So I've got 27 5/10 over here, 11 over here. So my final answer is 27 5/10 is greater than 11. Or you can just write a greater than sign right there and box it in. Okay? If it helps to write out this pyramid every time, then do that. But remember, grouping symbols comes first, then exponents, left to right, then multiplication and division on the same row, left to right, and then addition and subtraction on the same row. If the pyramid helps you, then great. If not, then just write GEMA, gotta eat more apples, grouping symbols, exponents and roots, multiplication, division, addition, subtraction. That's all for lesson 4.